अरुणाचल शिवा अरुणाचल शिवा अरुणाचल शिवा अरुणाचल.
When we talk about this awareness, what we are, everyone thinks there would be so much of bliss and joy, and that can happen. That happens. But I want to point out something which is very important, I think, because people in awareness sometimes feel that they are not in awareness because the mind creates doubts after doubts. And one of the things which I want to point out is that some people, when they are feeling low or they are not enjoying how people in the world are interacting or socializing, or think they are not able to fulfill their duties or responsibilities the way they were doing in the past, and then they have doubts. And I have spoken to so many people one to one and at different occasions, and I want to assure you this is a more positive sign that you are in awareness rather than not. Because when you are transforming, that energy, that awareness is a newfound thing which does not find any ground to sustain in ego minds, and it does not know how to behave or move in ego minds. So it goes more into quietness and a bit not unhappy but not adjusted in social gatherings or the way the ego mind was behaving. So there occurs a bit of a, you can say, maladjustment or misadjustment or how to interact, because it has no clue. Previously, that polished ego was working so well. It knows its smart tricks, how to talk to whom, how to keep people happy, how to arrange things. It because it is the mind's job. It creates planning, and it judges others and try to produce yourself as the put the best foot forward, and knows how to deal in this egoistic world. But the newfound awareness has no clue. So sometimes for that person which is moving into presence mode, it is hard to function. It's like a newfound environment, like he's newly born. And so uh, unhappiness or this adjustment issue can come, and some people think they are getting lost or they have no control. And I would like to say this is beautiful. This is what it is. There should not be any control. And you don't have to behave in a peculiar way, which only a personality does. Awareness just moves in a way that even awareness doesn't know how to move. So, this a bit of a confusion or feeling that I am not belonging, not fitting into the society the way I was, is a very, very good sign. And it's not that all the time you are bubbly and, ha ha ha, and, just laughing without any reason or cracking stupid jokes makes you that you are in bliss. No, no, that's exactly opposite. People say that Jesus actually never laughed in his whole life. So, do you think he was the sad person? So this is the thing. That bliss has its own innate quality where it is contented the way it is, and it does not want to pretend or make a polished attempt about anything. It is, and it's not there to impress anything, not even itself. So, and it unfolds in a different way in different people. So you can't compare yourself with Bhagwan Ramana. Like a lot of people try to keep doing this. I remember the other day I was speaking to one of the seekers, and he was saying, "Oh, look, nobody could be realized because no one is like Ramana." That is completely wrong. If you take like this, then next birth you might start following Ramakrishna Paramans. Then you will say, "I don't look like Ramakrishna Paramans." But you just see when unfolding happens, even in a disciple or in a seeker, a devotee of a guru, the way he will speak, the way he will act, the way he will dress up can be very different. One person can go in cave, the other can be grasta. We are all householders, isn't it? Householders has the maximum chance because their ego is being punctured from all directions all the time. Sitting in a cave, nobody is checking your ego. So I think we are in the right position. Actually, everyone is in a right position for freedom, because whatever the circumstances given to each individual are all conducive to your own freedom. Suffering, most of the sages say suffering is the blessing, because suffering makes this go very quickly. Because in suffering, you don't want to be ego, you don't want to be what is going on, you want to detach. So your freedom is much more quicker in suffering. But in good times also, for some people, suffering, the freedom from bondage can occur. Because in good times, you know that even this is the best time, still I'm not getting what I really want. And then your longing, your intense longing to know that ultimate within can make the journey faster. Like Buddha, he had everything was going fine in his life, and then he jumped out of it. So whether the life is of suffering, whether the life is of all the joys and happiness, whatever is happening in your life is what you as an individual personality needs to transform. So we should never compare with others, even with guru or teacher and other people, and never try to look into put yourself in other shoes, because you never know what life they have lived in previous births, and this life nobody knows anyone. You should just accept your own situation the way it is, with total acceptance, remembering that this body and the mind which it's using, this complex is not at all you. This complex has come into beingness because of your wrong notion that you are this. And at this stage, if you still believe you are that, then it will continue. Can you just uh, see how strange this looks to be? That just one belief and the whole game changes. One belief that you are this body mind, the body minds keeps coming, never ending. The moment you sit back and watch and acknowledge that you are this formless, nameless awareness, and the whole ongoing journey of the body mind finishes. At that moment, actually, it finishes. Even the body mind stays, but the journey finishes. Your realization is complete. If you really have enough of all the experiences and desires and ambitions and relations and attachments, and now you really want to retire forever, eternally, then one thing you have to do, and this one thing is to give away this notion of body mind complex as you. And there are two components in it which are intertwined, they are together. One is body. What body does? Body does actions, but these actions of the body are predestined, as Bhagwan always pointed out to us. And this is the real, if you believe in this, your freedom will be very quick. So if the actions of the body are predestined, then you can't take any blame for wrongdoing and you can't take credit for any good work. And when everything is predestined, you can sit back and you can watch as you are awareness. This simple concept that the body is doing what it has to do, there is no doership. There is no doer, so there should not be any doership. When this doership goes away, you and the body are completely different entities. So when we say that the body is predestined and it's doing what it is doing, no one is sitting and controlling. Just this understanding, which is the reality, which is the absolute truth, automatically takes you to awareness. And the body is separate from you. Though the body is taking the energy from you only, but you as only energy. And the body is doing its action, taking energy from you. But no one is doer. Neither you as awareness, nor the body is doing anything. It is just happening. Now comes the second part, mind. What is mind? Mind is only bundle of thoughts. Those thoughts helps body to act in a way, because a desire comes, I thought comes, desire comes, and the body acts. Now this desire, which leads to thoughts, if you become desireless, then that is the death of the mind. But how can you be desireless when there are millions of things you are interested in it? How can you drop all? You get rid of one desire, the other desire props up. And that is a difficult thing, isn't it? But if your desire is for freedom, this will happen automatically. If your real desire is for freedom, then this desire after desire, which is giving rise to these chain of thoughts after thoughts in mind, will all disappear together. You don't have to worry about your petty desires. Leave them, let them be there. But that when that intense desire, intense longing to be free comes, then the mind looks within. Mind looks into that awareness. And the whole energy takes back mind. It takes a somersault. It takes a somersault and it looks within. And when it looks within, it knows this knowledge. It is that knowledge actually. It does not know. Nobody knows. Only the self knows self. But that mind which was projecting outward because someone was interested in what it was showing. If no one is watching, let's say someone has put a movie on a screen. If nobody is watching, then the person who has put this movie will switch it off. If nobody is watching, what's the point of showing all those images? The images disappear. And this is the beauty. So doership and desire, if these two things goes away, so make this desireful mind into one desire to know the self, and paying attention to that awareness only. So throughout the day, let the body do its things, whatever. It will not create any impressions if there is no doership. So at least the ongoing cycle of karma will come to an end. And the previous cycle will finish with the end of this body. So no bank balance left of any karma. You're not generating, and this will be finished with the end of this body. As far as the desires goes, when you pay attention to the awareness and when you know your own reality, what would you desire? How would the desire stay? And what would you like to desire? Desire for what? What the body desires, what for? What our all remember, all our desires are propping up because we want to be happy. The moment you look towards your own reality, pure awareness, and the bliss of this pure awareness, contentment from this pure awareness makes you so satisfied that you become desireless because you were looking for happiness in those desires. So, these are the two things which every seeker has to go through, whatever religion they follow, or they are atheist or nothing, doesn't matter. Till there is the concept of that I am this body, you are bound by the body. The moment you know that you are awareness, you are free eternally. And this is very simple. Let whatever happening in life happen. Because if you don't let what is happening, then your mind will be in resistance mode and everything will appear to be an obstacle. Take everything as helping you in your journey. And then you will realize that even the suffering or whatever people creating obstacles are actually helping you. So have that positive attitude and understand that you are always awareness. It is a self sabotage when we blame others, when we look in others how they are behaving, and the mind loves gossiping. And because I'm not saying what mind says is untrue, because the mind picks up all the egoistic minds around us and the way they behave, because everyone is self centered, ego, selfish. And because the way they behave, there is that awareness in us which does not want to involve. And ego in us wants to get to that level to fight or to argue or to comment on others. And this is very good exercise to even watch your own ego, how it goes to that level and tries to fight or gets annoyed. And the moment you watch from the level of awareness, that ego dissolves. Because this is just a thinking. I'm talking about the mind game which is going on. And the doership of the body goes away the moment you know that the body is predestined, whatever way it is working or not working, it is the way it has to work. No one is there which is guiding this body. It is just on an auto mode. Everyone's. So the the person who is controlling the doer, that can be observed when you just stay as awareness and don't slip back into the ego mode. You might keep slipping back if it's a newfound discovery, but even with that, this unfolding will continue. In most of the people, it's a slow process, and slow process is a good way, I believe, because that energy which wants to show itself slowly, that veil is thinning out and it's like a light smoke and then it goes away. But it will go away not on its own. Your effort should continue till, as Bhagwan says, till you have conquered the fort, till all the enemies in form of your desires and thoughts have been smashed, finished. Let thoughts come. Let how many thoughts coming? 60,000, 80,000. Don't own any thought. Don't engage in any thought. When you get engaged, come back and just watch. Because if you have only interest left is to know yourself, then why would you be engaging in any type of rubbish thought? Thoughts are always about commenting on others or commenting on yourself. You are pure awareness, uninvolved witness. Then, whom those thoughts are for? For the ego, for the doer, for the one who thinks he is the body mind. So they will keep coming back thinking that there is a doer, but the doer is no more there. Then how long those thoughts will come? They will stop coming. They will lose its potency because there is no one to catch hold of them, engage in them. You stay as awareness. Let thoughts come, let body does its action. You stay as awareness, uninvolved witness. Let whatever happens around you, people comment on how stupid you look nowadays, unkempt hair, you don't know how to behave. Let it be. It's all working for you only. The moment a person becomes an ardent, honest spiritual seeker, everything around him or her is actually helping that person to get out of this bondage. Even those people who are egoistic, they are also helping him to get out, though they themselves they might be in bondage, but still they are all helping him to get out. This is the beauty of a seeker. For seeker, everything is a help. So, who is against you? Only you. Who is helping you? Everyone. All the help comes from the outside and inside as the grace. That pure awareness is waiting to hug you. Your beloved is inside, and the only thing which can create issue is your own ego self. Till there is ego, there is no union. So even the word of yoga, union, I think does not really tells you what it is, because there are not two people. Union means there should be two. There are no two. One is fake and one is real. You are the real. The fake is nothing. Fake was never there, and reality was always there. It is your own self-discovery, is just knowing this, experiencing it, your own experiential knowledge. Don't think it is a very big deal. It's not at all a big deal. How can it be a big deal to know your own self? But somehow this mindful of egoistic people have made it to appear so difficult. My God, you have to take 7 births. You have to be doing tapas for years and years, sitting in a cave. You have to be like Buddha or Jesus. You will be crucified once you know it. It's not like that. You can continue doing what the body is doing, because who is interested in this body when you are awareness? It is the simplest, easiest, and direct seeing. You don't have to do anything. Actually, you don't have to do anything. All efforts will take you away from it. Most of the methods, if you see, these methods start from ego, and they promise that they will end with egolessness, which I have not seen happening. Better just understand the pointings and know what you are, and stay like that. And because it's the reality, it will manifest in you. It will show you your own face. But you can see your face when the mirror is clean, not an impure mirror. And what is this mirror? This mirror is mind. A mind which is pure like a child. an innocent child, then it will show your face. And it what it shows, it shows you only. But the mirror should be clean. And how to be clean? When it has no impurities of desires, attachments, selfishness. When it is giving away what the ego has led to. That is a pure mind. A pure mind is an egoless mind. If you see the mind's gunas also, Rajsik, Satvik, Tamsik, and we say that the mind should be Satvik, what are we talking about? We are talking about the mind which is not looking into actions all the time, doership. It's also not Tamsik. Tamsik is like wants indulgence and relaxed and this. Neither that. He's not running for things and not looking for comfort. It is just it is. That is Sattvic mind. And the moment you touch that, you don't have to know all these concepts also. There's no need. I'm just telling you because I know these words. You just have to stay in your own seeing, just as a pure awareness. And when you know this, knowledge tells you everything. You can write Bibles after Bibles because that knowledge sprouts from you. The words which it will use, you don't even know. Who are you? Who knows? Nobody knows. It utilizes that body mind to blossom you in the best possible way. The moment the ego moves out from the scene, the body is in direct control of that absolute Brahman. And that absolute Brahman, that intelligence, doesn't waste even one fraction second of that body. It will use for the right purpose in the right way. And so, who has to believe on this awareness? There is no one there to believe. There is one who is there who has to disappear, and that will disappear in pure seeing. Just paying attention. It's like a vigil, but not a paranoid vigil. Just knowing where you are. It is like fine-tuning with that God principle within by paying attention. And when you pay attention, the unfoldment keeps happening and your seeing becomes very profound and stable. That stability takes sometimes. There might be sometimes you might jump into the ego mode, or some vasanas or some impressions might take hold of you. But you stay as awareness. Don't think that you are that. It is just a mind game going on, that there might be some impurities going on. The seeing will burn away everything and they will disappear. Don't get disheartened, because the one who gets disheartened, the one who has doubts, is the mind only. It's not you. You are part of that absolute. You are that energy. You are eternal. You are, when I say pure mind, the reason I am saying pure mind is because you are Amal. Mal means impurity. You are ever pure, purest of pure. If you are purest of pure, then who is carrying this impurity? Only the mind, only the mirror. When the mirror becomes clean, then you know your own Sarup. So, how to clean that mind? That mind gets cleaned when it looks within what it is. When mind merges into the heart. Your own self actually cleans everything, your body, your mind. It burns away the ego. Just with a simple thing that you are interested in it. Your own interest will free you. Nothing else. Nothing else needed. You don't need to be a very person who can sit in a squatting position for 8 hours, then only it will happen. Then it will happen only to the people who are yogis. But you will see yogis have more ego than anyone else in the world. You know? So it doesn't matter. Even if you don't know yoga, you can't sit on a chair also, you are bedridden, doesn't matter. You don't have to live only in Arunachala, then only you will liberate. All these things can be conducive, can be helpful, but the main thing is your own interest. Your interest will lead you to freedom. How it will lead you to freedom, even you don't know. How it is happening each moment it is happening. More intense your longing is, less the distance between you and yourself. Because antarmukhi, the mind which is looking within to know itself, to know the source, it is merging in the source by just your interest. Even if you don't understand anything, doesn't matter. If your heart is open and you want to be there, it will happen. Nobody can stop, because there's no one, actually no one is stopping it. Whole world is there, whole kainat, they say, is helping you to be in. Only you have this mind which creates doubts. If you stop listening to the mind, you will stop listening to the doubts also. Let the doubts come. I don't know for whom these doubts are. You are pure awareness. Stay like that. You know, the easiest and best sadhana is to be what you will be. To be what you will be after your experiential understanding. Be that right now. Let's say there is a chair of a president, and everyone wants you to be president, and it's an unanimous decision that you will be president. Then better to go and sit on that chair, president's chair. What are you waiting for? Ceremony? You can sit a day before, sit there. When ceremony happens, it will happen. You've taken away the seat. Don't leave your seat. You are Brahman. Everyone is Brahman. You are Brahman. Stay as Brahman. When you stay as Brahman, all the characteristics of Brahman will dawn on you. But then don't fall again into this pit of selfishness as ego. Then be the last in the line in any queue. Don't break the queue. Don't show eagerness for anything. Stay as invisible. Stay as nothing. And you can stay as nothing and invisible if you're not trying to impress yourself. When you're not trying to impress, what is this thing in us which tries to impress someone or itself? Is that which thinks it is the body mind. Awareness has no clue. Awareness has no smartness. Awareness does not know how to impress. If something gets impressed or depressed by awareness, awareness has no clue. And you can't blame it. Because it doesn't know anything. It is actually like an innocent child. It is so pure. And whatever this body has done before does not affect awareness. And what body might do later will also not affect awareness. They are on different planes of existence. Mind, though it is subtle, is still part of the matter. It changes all the time, it's transient, it is impermanent, destructible, has a lifespan, same like body. And what is awareness? It is eternal, untainted, pure, never involved. And when you stay like this, the moment you stay like this, each movement of the body is like a movie to you, because you see what it is doing and why it is doing, and sometimes you have no clue. The person with an egoistic mind actually has more control on the body and mind. At least that's what he thinks. And he can direct the body in different ways. He puts a lot of attention to the body, to dress up, to look smart, take care of the body, you know, doing all the extra stuff to pamper the body, to pamper mind. Awareness doesn't know anything because it has no ownership of the body. An egoistic mind has ownership. He pampers. Awareness has no ownership. This is the first time that you realize that you are not the body. This is the first time you realize that the body doesn't belong to you. It is not your thing. It is part of the matter. It does not belong to you. And the third thing awareness realizes, that body is not for me. Maybe this body has some purpose for some other beings. Who knows? But not for me. All this is not a sequential understanding. This all comes immediately. The moment you know that you are not the body, you know that the body doesn't belong to you and body is not for you. So how do we do indulgence? Whether it's eating food all the time, loving all, or whether it's sex, whether it's fame, name, whatever it is because we think body is for me. Body, I am body, or body belongs to me. All these are wrong concepts, completely wrong. This is the biggest sin we do. When we take the ownership of the body, we have no rights to even indulge. When we do indulgence, and someone can say that it is my body, my life. It is not my body, my life. That is only ego life, ego body. I am pure awareness. And we have to pay a very heavy price. We have to pay a very heavy penalty for this sin, in form of death, in form of suffering, even suffering before death. Things what we like, they are disappearing, beings and things, and then we have sorrow. One sin, this is the biggest sin, that the moment we think that we can do anything with this body, no, we cannot do. Someone who does suicide, you can't, and now it is a punishment that you can't kill this body. Why? Because it does not belong to you. You can't kill it. You are not allowed to kill also this body, because the moment you kill this body, your suffering will not end. It will increase. We have no say on the body. But if you see in this external world, everyone is deluded. All the advertisements are about how to do anti aging things, indulge your body, go into this thing, that thing. We, you know, one of the cities in US, Las Vegas, they call it Sin City. But if you see, this is sin word. Why to call one city? Everyone is indulging in different things. Someone in sports, someone in research, someone is in eating, someone in drinking, someone in fashion, and everyone is paying a price for it. Because when we are indulging, you are so attached to the body, and then the body takes you to the death. So, whom to blame for your death or suffering? Yourself, your indulgence. So, we have no right to do anything wrong with this body. And the moment you understand this, you get freedom, 100% freedom. It's like the body is this Yamraj, this is Kal. It takes you towards death. But the moment you give up your relationship with it, then you are free. Give up all your relationships with this body. Don't think that you are this body. If you really want to do with something this body and your ego is still there and it has petty desires, then use it to do good to others. At least then this body can be used for other bodies, not for your own indulgence. Why we earn so much of money? To indulge, so we can have more comforts, we can buy this, do this, visit this. There's nothing wrong in going through all this if you are not doing it. If your actions are disinterested, I'm not saying if your spouse wants you to go to place A, B, C, and you're indulging. No, don't take it that way. You can stay in pure awareness even in full indulgence. You can do every action what is required as a grasta, as a householder, as a disinterested action. Because the body might have those karmas attached to it. I'm not sure whether you might have heard that story of Krishna, that his wife has to cross a river and then river was flooded, and then he said that if I'm celibate, then this river should dry up, and it dried up and she was able to cross, something like this. And he had so many thousands of queens, and he's talking about celibacy, and he has kids. What is he talking about? That is the thing. Doing but not doing. Being in it but not indulging. Because who indulges in things? Who is unhappy? Who wants to have few drinks to de-stress? Who is in stress? The one who is always in bliss doesn't need anything. And if something is part of his life, it has to unfold that way, that's okay. But that is not indulgence. So people get confused in restraining themselves, and they do's and don'ts in the path of spirituality. It's not like that. If you follow do's and don'ts, you restrain, but your mind is there, then you are indulging. It's all indulgence is by mind. But you might be doing this and you have zero interest in anything, then you are free. You're not doing anything. Things are not done by body, things are done by mind. Your intentions. There's a big difference. The same act can be so different. Depends on your intention. When you hug a lady thinking as your mother, that hug is different from someone you think as a lover or you have infatuation. Act is not important, intention is important. Same is with God. If your intention, your deep desire is to know the self, you cry for it. You cry, you literally cry, it will happen. But if you sit on your, cozy couch and you want to listen to a satsang and then, have a cigar after that and a couple of drinks and then you want to do something else and let's just do it again, that cozy approach, that lukewarm approach will never get you. I guarantee this. You can continue your life like this, it will never ever happen. That is for sure. You have to make a one pointed effort with intense desire to be free. And if you think you're not getting free and your mind is giving so many doubts, cry, ask for help. From whom? From the self within. You can fool whole world by your spirituality or by religiosity, but not your own self. He knows you more than anyone else. He is your eternal companion. Even before you had the mind, you are self. So we can pretend in front of anyone. Whole life can fool whole world, but we cannot fool ourselves. Because who are we? If you go into this question which Bhagwan has put it, who are we? We are that pure self. Then who is the one who is in search? In the moment you realize this, it detaches you from this whole body-mind complex. Who is the one who wants to indulge? Who is the one who wants something out of this body-mind? Who? No one. There is no one there. That fake person in us needs to be seen in the light of pure awareness. And this fake person in those big searchlights of awareness dies away, goes away, because it's not there. It runs away. So you have to light, you have to bring that light of this wisdom, and then it disappears. Everything disappears. And then you realize that all what you were thinking as your story was a fake story of the body mind, of zero value. I have done this, or I have done wrong. Who is this I? When we meet people, we talk about so many things. I bought this, I like this is my color, my favorite color, my, mine. What is this happening? All kachra, rubbish. And we have collected all this rubbish, and people, again, everyone is collecting that rubbish, and we are interacting with them. And that's why a seeker actually gets headache when he meets people, He does not know what to talk, how to talk. Sometimes he talks and then he feels, what has he spoken about, There's nothing actually to talk, if you see. In reality, there's nothing to talk. What are we going to talk to people? What are we trying to impress upon people? So all the interaction in this world actually useless for a seeker. And that's why the seeker looks the most depressed person, sad person, useless. Because he loses interest. Nothing interest. And that is the beauty of this thing. They say Vairagya is a quality. I say Vairagya comes. It automatically comes, because who wants to talk all this rubbish? Vairagya comes because whom can you interact with? Where can you find another person to talk about that evolved consciousness? Even if you want to talk, you will not find. So what will you do? You just sit quiet. Vairagya comes naturally. Sometimes, for name's sake, you just talk because you have to talk. But this is empty talk, which is of no value. Knowing yourself is such an easy and simple task. If you are ready to give away your old habits, if you are ready to detox yourself, give away this personality, useless personality, whatever gathered. I know people have given all their life for this personality. I'll give you a very short example and then we can end, because this example is just came to my mind. I was running these retreats and there was a guy who was in his mid 30s. He was suffering from a neurological disorder known as Tourette syndrome, in which they talk, vocalize, and they have some sounds. And then he was suffering from OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, delusional thoughts. And in this retreat, I spent almost 5 days with him. On fourth day, almost everything disappeared after intense sessions with him. And then he was very happy. He said thanks to me, and I was quite happy. I thought, at least, this problem of more than 20 years has disappeared. And next day he came and he started abusing me. He said to me that all my life, this was my life, seeing psychiatrists, psychologists, getting sympathy. And if it is not in my life, then what is left? And he never saw me again. And he said, I'm going back to my doctors because I can't live without that, what I have lived all my life. So sometimes even we are so attached to suffering. And this attachment is to this world, which is full of suffering. There's nothing there. And when you talk like this to the people around you, they will all think he's a depressed and a gone person, useless, He's not enjoying, no enjoyment in life, no spark in life. What a useless fellow a seeker is. Nanak, Guru Nanak, one of the Indian saints, said, Nanak dukhiya sab sansar. But when you say to the people, they will say, oh no, I'm very happy, I'm contented, and I thank God, and I've got everything, and I do good acts every day. And ego talks in so many ways. Ego will obstruct your path to freedom because it does not want you to see what you are. And to be what you are, the best is this pure seeing in which you stay as awareness, not involving in the body actions and not involving in the desires outside, looking towards this awareness. Only these two things are needed. Give away your doership and look within. Deep desire to look within, which will give away all other desires. And the more you are pulled within, the gap between you and the body-mind complex will get deeper and longer, and it becomes like a very distant, faded figure. You will not even remember your identity, your name, all your stories. They are all in a background like faint images. And that brings so much of spaciousness, lightness, because these are the characteristics of awareness. It is the subtlest of subtle, which is subtlest than the space or ether or whatever words you want to use, but full of life, that undercurrent, that energy, due to which everything is manifesting, unfolding, giving rise to everything in this world. And when you realize this, then automatically you are connected with everything, because that undercurrent is in everything. As a child, I could never understand this simple word in Hindi, which they say, "Kan kan mein Bhagwan," which means in each particle there is God. And I thought, who said this? And it created so much of problem in my life for 20 years. I asked so many people and they thought I'm stupid. They say, "Oh, the saint says anything, doesn't matter. Why you bother about?" And I used to pick up a sand and I used to think, where is God in it? Because if someone has said, there must be some truth. I always thought, if someone has said, and everyone says this, in each particle there is God. There is God. Because that is the substrata on which everything is manifesting in this world. Everything. Nothing beyond it. Even the things which you think devilish, devil, evil, everything comes out of it only. And we are that pure awareness. And nothing beyond us. There's nothing else to be found. Your journey ends here forever. No more seeking. And who tells you that no more seeking after this? Nobody can tell you. You don't have to go and check it in a gadget or read a scripture or ask someone to please check me. The one who thinks, has doubts, has disappeared. And when that disappears, what is always there. There's nothing beyond you, nothing without you. You are everything. Attachment to the body, we are paying a heavy price, all of us. Knowing what we are, we become blissful self. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.